Okay, we're live.
All right.
All right. So we're gonna we're gonna really hit hard with a moment of Muppy this time. We're gonna
We're
dig
going to
into
show
the
you how the sausage is made at the Wordy Pair.
yes. Today, today we're going to use your mom to show you how sausage is made. I like to think someone out there never makes the connection to moment of Muppy and like mom.
Right? That would be great. I mean, the odds are pretty good, I would say.
Probably.
So, the idea that I threw at you and you said this sounds like a good pitch is that we brainstorm our topic for the Wordy Pair recording that we're going to do this weekend, and we
Yes.
figure out the topic today.
Yeah. We brought up the Wordy Pair a couple of times now. So yeah, we need to come up with a topic for how to tell other people how to write, maybe, but not really.
So just to give everybody kind of a little feel of how unorganized we are, we have a list of random topics that we have come up with in a not even a Word document, a .text file that is maybe 50 lines long, 60 lines long, 70 lines long, something like that.
Yeah, it's saved our
And
bacon
in
a
it-
couple times.
What's that?
It's saved our bacon a couple of times.
It has indeed. But basically, it just contains a list of topics that we've covered, as well as a list of topics that we have thought of that might be interesting and haven't covered. And I am somehow the keeper of the list. Just to give you a feel for how slapdash these are, we have, as our top one that we haven't done, why is Nero Wolf so good?
And I think we brought up Nero Wolf last time, so
Yes.
this may be an obsession.
We have Rayman, A Story Without Words. We have a discussion of the Wheel of Time series, which that one's going to take a lot of work for us. isn't it?
That one, I mean, that one might have to be crossed off the list because I'm not sure I want to read the Wheel of Time. But maybe.
I'd be willing to read the first book in the series, and then we could talk about that. And
Yeah, we
see if
could
wanna
definitely
continue.
do that. We're probably going to have to add a discussion of all of the Slayers books as a total because I now own them all.
Okay.
So, boy, isn't this exciting, everyone? The process. This is the process for coming up with what we're going to talk about. It's like, hey, what should we do?
Well, this is the process for coming up what we're going to talk about. Whenever you don't just throw something at me and I say, "Cool, sounds good,"
Yeah.
which does happen like 50% of the time.
Yeah, every once in a while I'll read something on Twitter and I'll just like go off and I'll just be like, this is stupid. We're talking about this.
We had a really good episode a couple weeks ago based on that awful Old Man in the Sea article.
Oh yeah, yeah. All the symbolism and everything.
That was a mess because he was like going crazy about the symbolism in the Old Man in the Sea, but doing it all wrong.
Yeah, and then it was even funnier because a couple weeks later you came across that thing where it was like, no, Hemingway actually said there is no symbolism in this story. It's official.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was strange because when we were going through that article, we thought it's written by a person. Then we moved to it's written by AI, and back to it can't be written by AI. It's too bad. It must be written by a person.
It was so cleverly bad that
Yeah.
it couldn't have possibly have been done by AI. It was like someone really sat down and said to themselves, "How stupid can I be today?"
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and no machine could have competed. The machine lacks the imagination for that level of stupidity.
Basically. So the topic that you mentioned the other day that I wrote down in the list is talking about the Sherlock TV show seasons.
Yeah, because that was, and that one's gonna hurt because it'll be easy
I
to
know.
research, but I'll have to watch the last half again. Like the first 6
Yeah.
episodes, most of it was okay.
Yeah.
The last, what was it, 5, I think, or 6, or maybe there was like a weird special where he was back in old Sherlocky Holmesy time for one episode because he was in a coma or something, a
Oh,
drug-induced coma. So, yeah, that's really clever show. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. That would be a good one. I don't think I could get through watching them all before this weekend, though. So
that's the thing, is that we need something that we can do in like 3 days.
And I don't think I've sent you anything from from Twitter recently that was like, so I follow a lot of writing communities on Twitter, and the amount of stupid things that come out of it far surpass the amount of good things, and I don't know why I follow it, actually. I feel like I should purge it sometimes and just get right back to following nothing but anime stuff.
When you say you follow writing communities, do you mean you just follow writers, or do you mean that there's like a specific hashtag that you follow, or how does that work?
There are specific hashtags, but I don't generally follow those. They tend to just crop up with the people I follow. But the people I follow are in like 15 different communities, and like 3 of them hate each other. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of fun to sit back and watch the fireworks. There's a lot of popcorn moments. I think I remember one particular case where people were like, "Oh no, writing is pointless unless you're affecting the culture," and it's just like, no. Almost all of the books that I've read that were fiction, I read for entertainment. I didn't care about the culture. Some of them had their cultural points to them, but didn't matter. I mean,
but they didn't necessarily convince you of anything.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. There had to have been something. Well, so we have just enough time for both of us to read The Sinister Shadow. Yes. And actually, it might be interesting. Oh, geez, should I reread it, or should I be like, a quarter blind?
Yes,
a quarter blind review and see how much of it I can remember, because I remember a lot from that book.
Well, I mean, if you haven't read it recently, we shouldn't do a 3. I think half blind reviews are good. I think 3/4 blind reviews might not be good.
All right, I'll reread it again. It's not a very long book anyway, so no big deal.
I mean, the question is, should I read it as well? Because I would love to read it.
I think so. Okay, so the Sinister Shadow.
We'll do a full site review of this.
Yeah, and I without going into the details, because if we can convince one person to leave my wretched VTubing and go listen to some Wordy Pair, we've done our job.
Yeah.
But without ruining too much, The Sinister Shadow was a book that I discovered around the same time that the abysmal, atrocious, horrendous, flawed concept of a movie that was Superman vs. Batman: Dawn of Justice came out. I discovered this book, and it was essentially the same thing, because it pitted the Shadow against Doc Savage, 2 people for whom are the predecessors of Batman and Superman.
Right. Okay.
Like the Shadow directly influenced so many superheroes it was ridiculous, but probably none so much as Batman. And Doc Savage was quite literally Superman before Superman. He was called the Man of Bronze. He had a Fortress of Solitude. He and I think it was in the Arctic too. He was bulletproof to an extent. He had skin of bronze. He couldn't fly like Superman, but he was a very highly trained and highly educated man who had 5 mentors who had taught him to be the best of the best at these things, and he ended up outshining all 5 of them in their respective fields as one man. He was literally referred to as a Superman, and there is no doubt that he was the direct progenitor of Superman, not in the birthing sense, but in the this is where this idea came from. Superman and Batman both copied a lot of stories from their predecessors, so it's not even like guesswork here. There's no speculation here. But the book is fantastic, way better than what they did with those movies, and it really pits the two characters against each other, like, genuinely. Unlike in Batman vs. Superman, where it was like, I need to kill Superman, but then he said my mother's name. No, in this book, it's like Lamont Cranston. Okay, so I don't know who here would know the lore of the Shadow, but essentially there's 2 different types of lore that came out of the Shadow. One was that the Shadow was really Lamont Cranston, and he used his wealth and playboy sort of reputation to hide the fact that he was the Shadow. And another version, I believe the character's name was Alan Kent, was the Shadow, and he was a war veteran who had gotten pretty badly injured, like his face was burned and everything in the war. But he became the Shadow. He kind of learned how to do the proper makeup to make himself look exactly like a man named Lamont Cranston. And he ended up invading now this is the hero of the story, keep this in mind. He ended up invading Lamont Cranston's life, forcing him to allow him to use his identity as a sort of method of moving around town and getting things done as not the Shadow when he needed to do that. And he would occasionally have Lamont go off on vacations or do things for him to help fight crime. But in the stories, Lamont was not necessarily 100% on board with this. And so in the Sinister Shadow, Lamont Cranston actually goes to Doc Savage and relays the tale of how he's basically being blackmailed by the Shadow to Doc Savage and asks for his help. It does, as most of these stories end up, quite... But like it takes a lot longer in this book than in most books, but they do end up forming a sort of alliance to go after a much bigger bad guy. But it's the way that they like keep the characters in character. They don't change who these characters are. There's a lot of tension between Doc Savage and the Shadow in terms of how they're going to handle bad guys, because Doc Savage does not kill bad guys, but the Shadow does.
Right,
and it's a fantastic story, and the culmination of the story, it's a great climax to everything that happens. I won't spoil the best bit, but
yes, please don't. I just bought it.
Yes, but it's worth it. Like there is a moment between Doc Savage and the Shadow towards almost the very end that's just like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's really cool.
Well, so I had forgotten. I mean, when you told me about this book, I remember you telling me that it was the Shadow Doc Savage crossover, but I had forgotten that until just now. So this will be my first Doc Savage book, actually. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, I need to pick up a lot more of the Doc Savage books. They shouldn't be as hard to find as the Shadow, and the Shadow has gotten much easier to find in the past few years.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the Shadow stuff is probably making its way into public domain, isn't it?
I think some of it's been reprinted. I mean, I don't remember when the Sinister Shadow
reprint doesn't make the copyright timer roll over.
No, it doesn't. But the books that you would want to read from the original stuff would be in reprints.
In current prints, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that the Shadow is not yet public domain.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, probably not in entirety, but like some of the early stories might be.
Yeah, some of them might. I mean, Batman got away with it. I don't know. I guess it's enough of a change to it. It's seriously funny. It's like, how did nobody notice this?
People noticed it, I'm sure. It's just that, like, it was different enough. I mean, it used to be. I mean, back in the age of the pulps, there were lots of things that were, using each other's ideas and, sometimes probably without permission, but like not, as long as they didn't like copy characters over wholesale. It's like using an element of the King in Yellow was something that Lovecraft did all the time, and the King in Yellow came out 30 years before Lovecraft started writing. So it's highly unlikely that he got a hold of what's-his-face and got permission to use those references in his stories.
I'd have to look into that, because Lovecraft did have quite a circle of authors. There was, like him and Robert E. Howard sent letters back and forth.
No, but they were contemporaries. By the time...
Yeah. The other guy would have been...
If the person who wrote it was still alive at that point.
Yeah.
Like, The King in Yellow was written by... I just started reading this the other day, actually, because Robert W. Chambers.
I wonder if...
And we can probably look up if... was Robert Chambers a acquaintance of Lovecraft? This should be an easy question for a modern search engine to answer. Chambers was not a direct contributor to Lovecraft mythos, but several of his works and creations were retroactively adopted by various yada yada yada. You know,
I'm trying to remember just how...
As far as I can tell, you know, I mean, Lovecraft was using stuff from Ambrose Bierce, too.
Yeah.
You know, these people didn't necessarily talk to each other, and yet they referred to each other's works, because copyright hadn't yet become a
yeah, it wasn't as big of a thing. I think
yeah.
there is a license that the Shadow is currently under. I don't know if it's like IDW Comics or something, but, you know, they'll be dead soon.
Right.
I'm pretty sure they're going out of business. The Shadow copyright going out wouldn't... I mean, it would be nice to be able to write Shadow stories, and I probably will once it's public domain. But then again, I haven't really done anything with Arsène Lupin, and he's public domain.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who have paid homage to the Shadow in various ways. I mean, Sam Neill always kind of wanted to do a Shadow movie, and since he didn't get to in his, like back in the 90s, he really wanted to get one rolling, but since he couldn't, he created a new character called Darkman that was essentially like Alan Kent. I mean, that was like Liam Neeson's big role, I think, in the beginning, was Darkman. And that was supposed to be his idea for the Shadow movie that he couldn't make. And the first one was pretty good. Then there were two others that exist. I guess they're worth watching for the campiness of it. They were pretty corny, but the first one was pretty fun. And I think that Paul Dini's character, I'm not 100% sure about this one, but I do know that Paul Dini likes the Shadow. And he has a character that he did like a six comic run with called Madame Mirage, which I'm pretty sure was supposed to be his female version of the Shadow, with like a slightly different way of using her mind tricks than the Shadow had.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good comic too. It's one of the few that I actually read all the way through. I'm not much of a comic person.
Yeah.
It was easy because it was 6 comics.
pretty easy one to get through.
Yeah, that was a rough one, but I made it. Yeah, I think the Sinister Shadow might be a go. That might be a good one for us to do. I
mean, I just bought the book, so I'm going to read it in the next couple of days, and we'll talk about it. It sounds good to me.
Yeah, and I've been wanting to read it again for a while now, and I just keep forgetting because it's one that I bought on my Kindle. And the one thing that I don't like about the electronic devices is I tend to forget what I have on them. It's like the Steam problem. I know I have 1,000 games on Steam, but you know, if I tried to recall, what do I want to play? It's not as easy as just looking at my shelf of PS4 games or Famicom games.
Right.
So I guess, is that our brainstorming session then? Did we figure it out?
I mean, it was quick, but we managed to do it, yeah.
Quicker than usual in some cases. Sometimes it takes us like the day before to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I guess once we do that, and once it's up, maybe I'll just have to add a link and put this video up.
Sure.
Because we record like what? We're like what, 7 episodes ahead?
No, not anymore. We're like 3 episodes ahead.
Oh, is that all? Did I miss that many?
Yes.
Wow.
I missed 1 or 2 as well.
Yeah, because we were like 13 ahead, and so
it was crazy for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, that was deliberate because I wanted to make sure that we could actually like maintain a schedule for a bit before I started trying to publish the thing.
Oh yeah. Oh, we seem to be doing well.
If we can't do it, then we shouldn't do it. But if we can do it, then we should do it. That was my idea.
I mean,
we've got the Feist one hasn't gone up yet. The Jibber Jabber one hasn't gone up yet. And the Ending Haters one hasn't gone up yet. And the Rotten Orchard one hasn't gone up yet either.
Wait, the Rotten Orchard? Oh, right.
Yeah, the Lily Orchard one from last week.
The infuriating one.
I find it hard to get really infuriated at people just being that stupid.
Oh, as I read it, it's like I can be angry about this quite vocally because it's like this is just not how you write. Like, there's no we talk about this a lot in the Wordy Pair. There's no real like definite thing that you have to do to write and make good writing. There's a lot of guidelines that you can follow. You definitely want to use your imagination and try to make things different and interesting to people.
Yeah,
because
sure.
if you write exactly like someone else, people are going to notice, and they're going to, then they're going to choose. It's like, do I read this one or this one? And if the other person, if they think they're better, that's the person who has your audience. You can write, like the pretty fixed way of writing novel, and we actually talked about that too, where all the Nero Wolfe novels are pretty much written the same way, but they're really good novels.
Well, they're written the same way for a reason, because they're written from the point of view of the same character.
Yeah, and they're pretty formulaic. I wouldn't say that they're as formulaic as like.
Formulaic isn't the right word. I mean, they're murder mysteries.
But
That's
interesting
about as far
things
as the formula
happen with the
goes.
characters that make it
That's my point,
more
yeah.
than a murder mystery. Like a lot of the times,
Right,
you get a lot of characterization out of an Agatha Christie novel, but it's mostly, a lot of times it's mostly just the detective. Like Hercule Poirot has a lot of interesting quirks about him.
Sure, but he's really the only. I don't know. I mean, Agatha Christie novels, most of the rest of the characters are just devices.
Yeah, Miss Marple is much less interesting than Hercule Poirot. She doesn't really have as much to her, except that it's interesting that she's an old lady with all this experience that helps her solve mysteries.
Right.
And it's also interesting that there's always a detective that's like yelling at this old lady for interfering with detective business.
Right.
What's not interesting, though, since we brought up Agatha Christie, there is an Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot, and Miss Marple anime, and not separately.
There is.
It's the same anime, and they did this weird thing where they took mysteries from the novels, and the show kind of sort of stars the granddaughter of Miss Marple. And
yes.
in the stories, she would go and she has a pet duck for no reason. So she's carrying Subaru
Because it's an
around.
anime.
Yeah, she has to have a moe thing, so hers is a duck.
Well, it's not even a moe thing. It's a children's anime thing. It's a cartoon mascot.
It's kind of meant for younger people to get into the mystery stuff.
Yeah, it's not a gritty, adult oriented anime. It's probably pointed at a younger audience than like. It's probably pointed at a similar audience age as like the actual Ghost Stories anime, not the
Yeah,
American
probably.
remake.
But it's really boring. Like, they really watered down everything that happened in the mysteries to the point that the characters don't really have much personality, including Hercule Poirot. Like, he's way too bright and cheery about everything when it comes to... Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so the premise is the girl goes and visits her grandmother, and then a mystery happens. A theft or a murder, whatever. Yes, murders do happen, but Japan is much cooler about putting actual...
Detective Conan, it's a thing.
And then, like, Miss Marple knows Hercule Poirot in these stories. So she sends her grandmother to go visit because her grandmother... Or she sends her granddaughter to visit Hercule Poirot because her granddaughter has showed an interest in detective work and solving mysteries. And she goes and visits Poirot, and Poirot is really nothing like he is in the books. He's like smiling and cheery all the time. He doesn't really have his personality quirks. You're either seeing him smiling or angry, but he's not acting like Poirot. And if you want to know what that means, the books, of course, flesh it out quite a bit further. But David Suchet's portrayal of Hercule Poirot in the was it A&E Mysteries? I think it was the A&E Mysteries.
Yeah.
He really got into the character to the point that he played the character from something like, was it the mid 80s until 2015, a very long time. He played this one character, and they did every book. He actually did every single Agatha Christie Hercule Poirot book, and he was in character. I mean, nobody had mastered the character as much as him over that time, obviously. But people definitely think David Suchet more than anyone when they think Hercule Poirot. Yeah, but the anime was pretty boring, so I'm not sure I would recommend it. I got through like 6 episodes, one of which started the ABC murders, and it didn't really get interesting, and I was like, okay, I can't take anymore.
Wow, 39 books of Hercule Poirot stuff.
Yeah.
plus a couple of posthumous books of short stories.
Yeah, I don't think he did the short stories. He actually, Hercule Poirot does die in the very last book, and he died shortly after he did that story, which was kind of sad. But not before playing the role of the villain in Terry Pratchett's Going Postal movie.
Okay.
Which was kind of cool. I'm watching it like, that's David Suchet. Is that David Suchet playing oh my god, this is awesome. Without his Belgian accent, it's absolutely great. Well, have we ransacked your mom enough?
I don't know. I mean, this is your channel, and we're talking about stuff that you want to talk about. Do we want to talk about something else? Do we?
I mean, talking about books is always fun. That's why we have a whole channel dedicated to it.
Right.
I can't say that I know for sure what I'm going to even do or play on this channel every week for a while. I just kind of like doing this.
Yeah.
And part of me does want to kind of get more into it, but I'm going to wait a little bit longer, possibly early next year before really digging into all this stuff. Like, I still haven't learned how to use Twitch that much, and I'm not really trying that hard.
Yeah.
And I don't have a definite plan. I just got a few things I know I want to do. But this kind of thing is fun. Like, this is how we do all of our stuff. We kind of just dive into it and say, yeah, let's do this today. And it always seems to be fun, and I go back and listen to a lot of our stuff, so I mean, to me at least, it was enjoyable. So, a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe it's narcissism.
Pure
Yeah.
egotism?
Maybe it's level 10 narcissism. Maybe it's,
I think they stopped numbering the narcissism levels above 3.
Yeah, they do. That's you have to work so hard to get to level. Like Scientology has nothing on what I've done with the human ego. So I did want to ask you one thing, since I've got you here for the moment, and I was wondering.
The moment of Muppy TM.
Yes, it's not actually trademarked, so someone's going to steal that from me, and then I'm just going to keep using it, and like I'm just going to like break them with lawsuits.
Just make sure that you get your first one published up on YouTube at an early date, so that you can claim no, I have this trademark first.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's already up on Twitch, and it is. I think one is up on YouTube.
Twitch doesn't archive stuff, so you need to actually put it on YouTube.
I have the video with the timestamp.
No, but it needs to be somewhere there where you don't have the control over the timestamp.
Yeah.
Me writing on a piece of paper that I thought up that idea 3 weeks ago is not admissible in court.
So with that out of the way, I was actually going to ask you, do you want me to, for the purposes of having you on here when we're doing stuff, should I pick up, like, I think it would be harder to do a 2D model for you, but I could get a PNG model for when you speak and have it do the little bouncing, lighting up thing.
The light up thing or whatever?
Yeah, I think I should look into that. It's up to you. I mean...
If you want, if it's not expensive, I'll pay for it.
Oh no, they're dirt cheap. I spent virtually nothing on my models. I know how to work this game.
Okay.
Well, I mean that's half a lie, but even for what I paid for this one, it was nothing compared to what a lot of people pay. And they actually got a lot cheaper recently, especially for the level of quality that mine is, which is about the level I like. I'm gonna do a little bit more detail with the next one, but I just like the cartoony look and the ability to have a mouth moving, so that's fun. A little bit of hair movement.
It's an avatar. This wouldn't work very well. Like on my channel, I don't have an avatar. I just play the game, and so it would be very boring for me to just be like chatting without an avatar on my own channel, for instance. It wouldn't work.
It's I mean it's weird because like most of what I do is just commentary on the stuff I'm doing anyway, so I don't really need this. I didn't need to go this route, but I just got so infatuated with them that I was like, I want to do fun thing too, and so I went ahead.
makes it way easier for you to just chatting stream than me.
Oh yeah, that does help too. There is a part of me that at some point I might get one of the 3D models, but I don't want to get a super high quality one. I want to get one like the early Fillion models, because I love the way they look when she like gets really frustrated and does like the arm raising thing on hers. It's really funny, and she's got like all the hair floating through parts of her.
Is there a reason to do the 3D model if you don't have like a whole VR set?
Oh, I mean, I would have to get that, but I'm not going to do that.
Well, now you're talking some serious money.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that until it's like, yeah, I'm committed to this. But that's like, I don't like the 3D ones as much as the 2D ones, so that's like just a side consideration.
The simplicity of the 2D ones is probably the ideal.
Yeah, for what I do. I mean, what would I do with a 3D one? The most I could get out of it, it's like, hey, I do martial arts. Check this out. You know, like when everyone watched Korunick do the cartwheel, I could do stuff like that. That would be fun. I
guess, yeah.
But I don't think I can sit as well as Subaru. Subaru's got sitting on lockdown, even though I am also pigeon-toed. Well, okay, so I actually have inverted ankles. Like I was born with my shin bone inverted the other way. So yeah, quite a bit pigeon-toed. But other than that, but it's like I get a 3D model and I just have all these freakish physical, like I'm all hunched over.
or like, no, but like I'm thinking of like the shin bones being switched. I'm like thinking that like when you walk as a 3D model, like one leg, the upper part of one leg moves forward, and the lower part of the other leg moves forward, but they remain connected the way they're connected in the model, and so you have like these weird stretchy spaghetti legs.
You know, that's kind of what I pictured for Alien Bangs when I described her walking.
Well, there you go.
So you figured it out. You cracked the code.
You just need to paint a bunch of white dots on your legs and walk around in front of a camera, and we've got it all set up. Yeah. Motion capture.
I mean, considering how much that stuff used to cost for them to do 3D movies, I mean, you can get it on a decent budget these days.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of cheaper versions of it. And sometimes it's funnier to have the cheaper stuff because everything moves real weird. Like, I was watching a video... I think it was Fillion, actually. I was watching one of her videos. She was doing a collab with someone. And she's like, I have to pee, and just walks away from the camera, and her model collapsed with her head rotating like a full 190 degrees on the ground, and her legs just inverting and falling over.
Well, usually that happens because she takes the headpiece off and sets it on the ground.
Yeah, it's you know, it's like you walk away from it and the whole thing, or I mean, you get funny stuff out of this too. Like my camera keeps making my eyes close for some reason. I'm looking at it and just like, what do I have to do to? I'm probably sliding down in my chair. There we go. But yeah, that's some fun stuff that hopefully I can look forward to.
Indeed.
Wow, my model blinks more than I do in real life, and I have Tourette's. Like, I can't stop it. I'm looking dead at the camera, and I just keep seeing it blink. It must be set to blink when I smile. I was laughing pretty hard.
There must be some kind of rigging thing that needs to be done there differently a little bit, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it wasn't the most expensive model. I literally bought a pre-made one for like $20, and then I wrote to the creator and said, I'd like a male model of this. It's everyone's mom, Atomic Red. Welcome to here. It's your moment of Muppy. All moms included. You caught us at the tail end again, though. We can drag it out for another minute or two, as long as Korunick's okay with that. Oh yeah, Korunick is here with us.
Yep.
I entirely failed to mention that. We dove right into this one. Yeah, did we have anything else we needed to bring up? We were going to bring up some of our writing, but
sure.
We did kind of bring it up last time. I don't know. Is there anything in depth that you wanted to talk about for a few minutes?
No, I mean, right now I'm starting to try to do regular reviews so that like I can do have something to like send people to be like, these are what my opinions on books you may have heard of are like, and then you can be like, oh, well, your opinions are similar to mine, or maybe they're not. Who knows?
Well, you gave me one of the best reviews ever. I mean, it's like my favorite review personally ever for obvious reasons.
I've given you multiple reviews.
Yes. And somehow I have failed to reciprocate so far. But now that I know you're on Goodreads, I can make up for that.
Well,
no, the best one is that you said my book was like Terry Pratchett with a hint of rabies. I will always cherish that one.
It's both descriptive and correct.
My streams are only short relatively. Like, I thought I did long streams because I would do 2 to 3 hours sometimes. These are just supposed to be moments because I'm trying to do more during my work week. And I can't really play long games during the weekday. But I mean, we cranked out an hour and a half the other day just doing this, and we're already at something. I don't know how long we've been going. I usually have something open that tells me, but not today. But we've gone, what, 45 minutes or so. And but like relatively, I guess most people do stream for like 4 to 6 to 8 hours and 16 in some cases. But yeah, I don't have much time during the week to do that. If you don't stream like 8 hours every day, are you even on that grind? I am definitely not on that grind. If I was on that grind, then I would be homeless. I would not be getting up to go to work if I streamed for 8 hours. And, I mean, I don't know if this is apparent, but I'm kind of in Boomerville here. Like I've got 4 decades plus on me, and it's a little hard to appeal to the kiddies with this stuff when you hit that area.
You just need a copy of what's it called, the Gary's Mod, and you can just do some crazy nonsense, and people think it's great.
Yeah, I'll hook up the old PlayStation, and I'll show everyone how to get outside the levels in Twisted Metal and Warhawk.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, those are always fun to do. I think I still remember. I don't remember if it was the infinite weapon code or the infinite health code for Warhawk, but it was triangle, triangle, circle, triangle, square, triangle, triangle, X. All you gotta do is use a model with some bazonga wongas. Well, I mean, I completely failed on that. That's, I definitely didn't hit that one. I don't think I got anything that... I mean, there's
You're shading.
Yeah, I have shading.
It implies that there's some kind of slope happening there.
Yeah, that's about it. But yeah, yeah, this was the cheapo model that I bought to ask for a male version, and I still use it because Ranma 1/2. That's my excuse.
Someone splashed you with water.
Yeah, someone splashed me with cold bits. So, if I stay on any longer, I'm probably going to start talking about the good guy, and we all know we love that.
Okay, and.
Yeah. The first VTuber with bulge physics? I don't think I would be that. There is almost certainly someone out there. That I don't think you're using the right tags, my friend.
I mean, if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to peek at Rule 34 to get there.
Well, I mean, it is an interesting question. There are plenty of male VTubers that have male models, right? And some that are even, reasonably popular. So, the question is, are there any that are like indie enough that they could have bulge physics, and the company that they work for or that they work for themselves would allow that? And the answer is probably yes, but I don't know who.
It could be worse than that. What if they've only got got a bust model of their VTuber, and so they stand up and their bottom half is just them, but they still have the bulge physics?
Yeah.
What was he doing that in VR chat for? Why would you do that? I mean, I'm willing to bet a lot of people do that, but such is the world. Oh, there is something I want to talk about. Since you're bringing up different... We know you would. We know you would, Atomic Red. And I would film it, and I would put it up on my OnlyFans. God, what if I did have an OnlyFans? My brother regularly makes the joke, so we were at a bonfire with one of our friends, and someone that we hadn't met before was over. It was one of their neighbors, and we were just hanging out talking, and they were talking about like kids and everything. And my brother, without missing a beat, just kind of points his thumb at me and goes, "Well, this guy could have like 8 kids with in like 5 different countries for all we know. We would never know it." But yeah, I think the last thing I kind of want to talk about here, I should probably do a full thing for this, but there's actually a lot of indie VTubers I like. One of them is currently visiting 50 Shades of Muppy. I actually, I follow a couple of VTubers that would probably be into a collab for that. But I like a lot of indie VTubers. I usually watch them more than I watch the famous ones, because I tend to get like... I get swallowed up in the clips for the really famous VTubers, and so I don't actually watch their streams a lot of times.
Right.
And they're really fun. Like, I do love a lot of the top streamers. Gargura she went from being one of my least favorite to one of my favorite, because when I first saw her, I was just like, oh, this doesn't seem like anything that's going to be special. And then she exploded into the most popular VTuber there is, and I was like, well, is she really that good? And I went back, and she has such brilliant comedic timing. I can't believe it. It's like, this is like Leslie Nielsen impressive comedic timing. And she stays in character very well, which is something I don't have to worry about because I don't really have a character. This is just me. But yeah, there's a lot of indie VTubers I like. There's one called Ichigo Taro, I think is her name. It's Ichigo something. I always just call her Ichigo, so I forgot what her full name is. She's visiting America right now. I think she's from Japan. She's an English-speaking Japanese indie VTuber. And she's been putting messages up on Twitter about the different hamburgers she's had in different places. She's going around trying hamburgers everywhere, and it's just great. She's one of the most soft-spoken indie VTubers I'm aware of, which is kind of why I like watching her. She'll just like jump on Pal World and start streaming, and she never talks really loud. She always kind of talks like this, and she has a bit of an accent because she's native Japanese, I believe. And yeah, it's fun. Really good to relax to and just sit back and turn it on. Like, especially it makes really good background noise too, so even if you don't want to watch, but it's fun to watch her play. She tends to play with a bunch of fun collab people. Well, another one of my favorites is this, there's this guy called Blue Icon, and I jump in his chat a lot and watch him play. He plays a lot of Valorant and, like, party games because he plays with this group that is just awesome. It's him and Jelly TV and, who was it? It was, Luna Shirosaki is how I discovered Blue. Because I was watching a Pipkin Pippa stream, and she did a raid. She was looking for people to raid, and she was like, "Oh, this person is watching bunny videos. I'm gonna raid them." And it was Luna Shirosaki, and all of a sudden, there were like 800 people in her chat, and she was like, "Oh, what the heck? What is going on?" And
Yep.
She started asking people, "Who is this?" She didn't know who Pipkin Pippa was. I think she's from. Oh God, where was she from? She's not from the U.S. I know that. And she was like, "Well, who is this? Where's her videos? I want to watch some of her videos." And people started getting her to watch all the really bad Pipkin Pippa videos on her stream. They were like finding clips for her. It was like 2 hours of pure joy, and so I followed her after that. And she plays a lot of party games with Jelly and Blue, and they were a really good group. I jumped in on... They asked me to join them for a game once, and I had the time. I played some golf with them on one of his streams. Yeah, there's some really good people out there. I'm gonna have to compose a list. One of the ones that I've been following, who she has been exploding in popularity, and she does an incredible job with all of her artwork and her character model and everything. Yomi Quinley has been doing a lot recently, and I think she's gotten to the point where she's making it her livelihood. She calls herself the Glad Scientist instead of the Mad Scientist. She has an assistant little thing in her corner all the time that she calls Morphe, a little side character, and if you send things to her chat, Morphe reads it in like an AI chatbot voice kind of thing. And she has a whole bunch of really neat animations for her model. She's got like a fishbowl effect and all this other stuff. She's got animations where she can have her lab explode and she'll come back with smoke and smut all over her face. I think she started a bit more say-so and started leaning lewd, but not like too much to where it might turn people off of it. But she like jumps back and forth over that line, which I kind of like. There's just a ton of people out there doing cool stuff, and it is my job to be the lamest of all of them and just talk my head off. So I found my niche. Yeah, it's literally my job to come on here and tell people about the other things that I do and not this. So, oh, you back, Korunick?
Yeah, I'm here.
I actually only just noticed that you were muted a second ago.
I just muted myself for a second so that if I like coughed or something, it didn't interrupt you.
Oh, okay. I was going to be like, oh, well, I guess I should wrap it up, and then I saw the mute, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to wrap it up before Korunick gets back. Yeah, you're right. You are 100% correct, Atomic Red. I am definitely succeeding in my laymanocracy, and proud of it. Very proud of it. I'm going to try and talk about other VTubers a lot more to point people to some awesome indie VTubers. I'll have to like dedicate whole half-hour segments to like one VTuber here and there. We can. I'll have to come up with something like the moment of Muppy. There'll have to be more mom jokes or whatever. And when and if I ever have people in the chat, then yes, I will have to do raids on people. But it would be very difficult for me to do one now, since you're the only one in the chat, and you're the only person that I would have to raid there, Atomic Red. I mean, we can. This is we can do this. This is how we can end it. Bruh. I think that's the third time in my life I've said bruh. Did I already forget how to do this? Alright.
/raid name. It's really simple.
No, this is... I have to understand every single thing I'm typing.
You do. /raid means raid, and then it's a command that takes one parameter. And that parameter is another Twitch name.
But I have to copy. Raid a fellow named Shiny Goma? Okay, I can do that. Boomer VTuber. Done and done. Alright, there's no, like, tricks to this name like yours, is there? It's not like a 0 for Goma. I'm just gonna type Shiny Goma. Alright.
You can open up a new tab in your thing, and you can type twitch.tv /Shiny Goma. And you can open up the stream of Shiny Goma.
I was gonna raid without any knowledge, but I guess, yeah, let's do this.
Well, you might raid nobody.
Oh, wait, I wouldn't be able to see if I... Okay, so, opening up ye old Twitch. And... Okay. Okay, we're gonna do this. Gonna make this raid happen. I'm going to go ahead and end my stream, and I'll jump into the chat over there for just a minute. So, thank you for joining there, Korunick. My based.
You're welcome, and later.
Yeah, I'll catch you later.